Thanks for joining us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 15th FOCIL Breakout. Thomas is here, but he cannot stay longer, so I will be running this breakout. So I want to share a few updates. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I want to share a few things related to Glamsterdam, and then we can move to implementation updates, and then if anything else that I haven't added to the agenda, we can also talk about them. Firstly, as many of us here might already know, you can express your preferences of the headliner for Glamsterdam at Forecast. Here's a link. And at the ACD call, we briefly talked about the headliner for Glamsterdam, and we realized we want to have more opinions from client teams and the community. So please make a vote and let it be heard via Discord, Twitter, or ACD calls. Here's another link you might want to share your preferences. I also want to re-emphasize why we need FOCIL, even though the censorship today has gotten better. We are seeing less censorship because top builders are not censoring for whatever reason. But Ethereum is vulnerable to censorship threat if top builders were to turn on their censorship again. Not censoring and can censoring are fundamentally different. Ethereum censorship resistance can be swayed by the opinions of a few. FOCIL is not a panacea, but it does improve censorship resistance by far. So Glamsterdam is probably a good fork to ship censorship resistance, and we can still ship other proposals that scale L1, L2, and improve UX. Lastly, let me share an update regarding ePBS and FOCIL compatibility. We have a new article written by Thomas. With ePBS spec is being updated by POTUS. The compatibility between ePBS and FOCIL is also revisited. The article provides the up-to-date ideas about the compatibility. It uses the IL bit list. It's a bit list indicates the ILs that a builder considered when building a block. If I were to provide a clunky summary of it, please feel free to jump in, Thomas, if I'm making some wrong explanation. Testers validate if a payload for previous slot satisfy the IL constraints and check if the IL bit list of a beacon block for current slot is a superset of their subjective IL view. In this way, we can leverage the whole beacon committee for the IL bit list inclusivity check, but alternatively, we can decide to let PDC perform it. This allows us to reorg a payload instead of a beacon block when it fails the inclusivity check. While this gives us better liveness, or we're going to rely on PTC instead of the whole beacon committee for the inclusivity check. So it boils down to the trade-off. For more details, please take a look into the article. Next up is implementation updates. Before we jump into it, does anyone have any questions or comments? I guess we're good. So let me just continue. I guess the implementation updates will be mostly about spec, but please feel free to jump in and share if you have any other updates. So in the previous breakout call, we discussed about how to specify the CL spec. Afterward, I shared a write-up that explains what were the problems and what are the possible solutions. Thanks to detailed feedback from Mikhail, Justin, and Mehdi, we were able to find a much better way to write the spec. So now the PR has updated, and now I'm working on the EL spec in the meantime. I guess people will be busy with other stuff like Fusaka, but can we have more eyes on the PR and merge it if it's okay? Let me share the link to the PR in the chat. Yeah, so merging it into the main branch would allow me to resume my work on the CL spec test. So yes, Justin.
Yeah, I would love to get this merged in soon too.
Thank you.
I'll give it a proper review today, and then maybe wait for Mikhail to give his review, and then merge. Or is that
Great,
too soon?
thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that's all from my end. Does anyone have any other updates, thoughts, comments, or feedback? I guess today's breakout is quite nice and neat. Maybe Toma, you wanna say something? Otherwise, we can just, call it a day and then see each other after 2 weeks. Right. So in the chat, Thomas says, curious to hear if people have opinions on FOCIL and Glamsterdam. So in a Twitter, we are seeing people are expressing their preferences on what should be the headliner for Glamsterdam, and they are, putting EIPs in different ranks from S to D. Some people put FOCIL on S, some people put it on D. Can we have some, ask people here about what their preference is? Right. So right, and it would be valuable if you could let us know if you don't think that FOCIL should be shipped in Glamsterdam, then I'm curious to learn why. Because yeah, is it because of the proposal itself, or is it because like it touches so many things from CL to EL, or is it because of a priority as in the three goals of the EF scale L1, L2, and improve UX or whatnot?
I have a dumb question. Forecast isn't like an official voting mechanism though, right? Like it doesn't track anything. You're just like, you would share the screenshot on Twitter or something. Or is there a better way? Okay, it's not official. Cool. It would be nice if there were some more formal voting mechanism where it was like public another time.
Okay, I'm in a spot where I can talk a bit, but yeah, I think there are pros and against official voting mechanisms, and that will necessarily like need a buy-in from most of the people and like a whole like, sort of like rethinking around governance. I think the STR list is more, yeah, informal way of stating preferences that is a bit more fun and nice, but yeah, shouldn't be considered like an actual thing. I think it's still nice to share, and just because even for me, I've been less involved in other proposals and just like trying to look at str lists, it actually forced me to look more into some of the other ones I like didn't know much about, which was nice. But yeah, shouldn't be taken very, very seriously. I don't know.
Fair point. ACD calls are the official channel, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And yeah, maybe to reformulate also the question, I just wonder if like anyone here has concerns about the mechanism, or if it's just a matter of priority and urgency into including stuff rather than FOCIL. Because if it's the former, I would love to know so we can maybe try to work on it. If it's the latter, then there is probably not a ton of work to do on the proposal or mechanism itself. It's just like a matter of preference and urgency. Okay, so I will take it as not okay. Cool. Yeah, if anyone has ideas about like things they think are wrong with the proposal, like let me know. There was a bit of turbulence on Twitter today because um, the Max Resnick, who is now at Enza and Solana, he's a bit known to be like vocal on Twitter, but he was saying that it adds latency to the critical path because of the view merge mechanism. I think like that's, I mean, the idea is partially right, and but the time it's like the actual latency itself like can be reduced down to less for sure if we think it's like um, completely safe to reduce that latency between like basically the view freeze for the attesters and the proposer. But yeah, I think my thinking is like let's start with like good safety margins and then look at how it behaves on testnet and mainnet and maybe then reduce it down. I really don't think it's like a crucial point that we should take like at heart, but it's still interesting to hear it and think about how and whether and when we can reduce that latency.
But is it correct to make an argument in that way? Because inclusion lists is not the only way, I mean, not the only channel to include transactions.
Yeah, for sure. No. I think it's not. I think it's one additional channel. So yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't reduce anything for transactions that don't go through that mechanism. So yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, I think it's really nice to also like look at FOCIL and shorter slot times. I also agree with Justin. I think it's safer to reduce slot times after FOCIL is included, just because like reducing slot time can sort of like shorten some deadlines that we currently have in the protocol. So like we sort of like reduce safety margins in a way. And yeah, I mean my take, and I know it's not shared by everyone, but like I feel like it's nice to have like a good slot structure we like before we shorten slot times, rather than doing it the other way around. But that's just my preference. I think I'm like open to do it myself, but like if everyone else like wants to do it, they're welcome to. But like sort of do FOCIL and shorter slot times compatibility post, just like I did with the ePBS and FOCIL might be useful. But the overall point is like, no, it's not incompatible, and yeah. I mean, at one point, especially if we go to 6, basically, like going to 6 is not incompatible with FOCIL. Like if we go to, 2 or 3, then of course, like there is this sort of like view merge mechanism that like adds some latency that can't be compressed down to 0. But yeah. Yeah. So when we talk about shorter slot times, are we talking about 6 seconds?
Yeah, maybe even less than 6 seconds
Okay.
on the long run.
Right. I mean, if you go down and down and down, then yes, there will be some like tension between FOCIL and like 1 second slot time, I think, for sure. But then we need to re-architecture like the whole consensus mechanism anyways, like the whole that needs to be so much more of a restructuring than what we are thinking about right now, that it's even hard to exactly grasp how that will play out. And FOCIL will be one of the things we have to rethink if we want to go to like 1 second short slot time. But for 6, I actually don't think there is any incompatibility there.
Okay, so can we say that even if we go to 6, which is the most plausible approach, then we can still have FOCIL working on mainnet, and we don't have to restructure anything in that case?
Yeah, I think I can write the argument more like nicely, but yeah, I really don't think there is any tension with like 6 seconds slot time and FOCIL for sure. Because I mean, IL building and broadcasting is literally done in parallel at the same time as like block building. So it doesn't really conflict with anything else.
Thanks.
But yeah, I do have a feeling that this question will be asked a lot, and maybe we want to write something about it so it's more clear, and we can also like gather feedback and opinions from you guys.
Yeah, maybe it would be good to have some quantitative experiments.
Yeah, for sure. You mean with like the time it takes for stations to propagate and like things like this, or like
Yeah, that.
okay, yeah, I mean for sure. And it's nice because this effort is anyways sort of like done, because it needs to be done for shorter slot times in any case. So we can just take advantage of this and see how well it fits with FOCIL. But yeah, again, I don't think it will conflict.
Yeah, I think the most important parameters for such an experimentation would be slot times and number of inclusion lists, and see where is the maximum, right? So where the setting, the optimum setting saturates after we reach that optimum.
Right. Yeah. So one thing that's important to still keep in mind, I guess, is like that inclusion lists with by definition always be much smaller than the block size. So yeah, I doubt they will ever be the bottleneck, because yeah, there's also like a current thinking that we won't necessarily want or need to increase the inclusion list size as we increase the gas limit for blocks. That's not like doesn't actually have to go together. So you can like and the goal is like, if we actually get to decouple local block building from solo stakers, then we could actually like sort of increase the delta between inclusion lists and the throughput of the chain. So like the gas limit for blocks, basically. Yeah, and so yeah, just saying like basically, I don't think we should necessarily scale the ILs as we scale the block like the gas, and that then it will become even less of a bottleneck compared to like broadcasting full blocks. Yeah, sorry, Katya, just number of includers matters, and the size of the inclusion list matters a lot as well. Now it's meant to basically have all inclusion lists, so the 16 be the size of one blob. That was like sort of like the thinking around the size, but both do matter and both can be changed, even though we don't think like it's going to be a strain on the network right now. Yeah, Katya.
Yeah, hello. So I'm currently working on the metrics we discussed in Berlin Interop, and probably will publish a draft today or tomorrow. So we will see the picture, like the size of VLs, the number of VLs, and potentially it could help like to evaluate the 6 slot. Yeah, 6 second slot. I hope it will help. So we will soon see it on Lodestar, and maybe other teams will join.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like exactly what we need to start gathering metrics and start like making choices accordingly. So it's
So
it's
my
really
plan
good.
is to add the dashboard for kurtosis, so every client which has the same metrics will be able to use the dashboard. So yeah, maybe by the next call, I hope yeah, we'll have some results.
Nice. Yeah, that would be really, really awesome. Thanks. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to say? Sorry I actually have to to run, but it was fun to discuss this. Just before we maybe close off, Potus is asking in the inclusion list chat if we went over the doc about the ePBS and FOCIL compatibility. So Jihoon gave a good overview, but maybe next time I can actually go and present it a bit more if people are interested. Because I feel like maybe it's nicer if like I send it in advance and say there will be a presentation, so everyone has time to just like read it and know about the doc. Does that sound like an okay idea?
Yeah, sounds awesome. So yeah, so we did this kind of research updates in our prior calls, and maybe it's a good time to revisit the compatibility between ePBS and FOCIL. I have a question. Is that article fully reviewed? I have a question about some sentences. So I wonder if it's like fully reviewed by people who's working on both ePBS and FOCIL.
So Terence and Potus both had a look. I mean, it doesn't mean like they, looked extremely into the details of everything. And for me, same, like there could be still mistakes in there. If you want to give feedback, like you can either just like post on If Magicians or reach out to me or start discussions in Discord. Like any way is fine. And if you spotted some like things that were like inaccurate or maybe that needed some more like some better wording, just for sure let us know.
Gotcha. I want to dig deep into ePBS and FOCIL. So let me reach out to you sometime in this week or next week. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Awesome. Cool. All right. If that was all for everyone. Maybe we can keep this one short. What do you think?
Yeah, we can just see each other 2 weeks later. And thanks everyone joining, and thanks Thomas for staying with the call. Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
for
you,
everyone.
bye.